You are on lockdown with CrimsonV on Castle Blakk Radio. Today I will be talking with Ritchie Randall from Gravehuffer. A lot of your stuff on everything lately, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, like a lot of content about you guys online. But there has been some changes with Gravehuffer from the last record that you put out. So what's the current lineup like?
Currently, myself on guitar, and I do a little bit of vocals. We've got a new singer named Travis McKenzie, which, ironically enough, is our old singer James Heiser's, like, one of his best friends. So that was kind of neat. And we've known Travis for a long time, ever since, like, the early 90s. So we feel like, you know, we got a good guy, a good friend, all that. This is his first time, like, fronting a band, so he's a little nervous about it, but we figured, you know, well, why not write some new music with him and see how that goes. And it's went really well. He's a really good lyric writer, and so, you know, we just kind of threw him into the fire, so to speak. And Mike Gilgi is our bass player. He does a lot of our art direction, and he records and produces us, I guess. And then we also have a new drummer, Jay Willis, and he was like a total stranger to us, pretty much. He was recommended by a friend of ours in the Kansas City area, and he happened to be moving to Joplin to come to school, and the friend that recommended it to him is he's a promoter, so he knew him from, you know, promoting bands and stuff he was in for shows, and he came highly recommended. We're really glad because Jay's an awesome drummer. He's a really good vocalist. He writes music. I mean, he's got quite a few riffs on the new record, and so he's done some vocals on the new album too. So since we lost James, we had Jay sing, Travis, and then I sang a little bit too, and we all kind of chipped in on writing lyrics too. So it's definitely like a different approach this time. So I know that was a long answer to your question.
No, it was a great one. It definitely answers a lot of questions. So yeah, I had noticed that you were talking about specifically that this was a strong collaboration between all of you. So that's got to be pretty special in itself. You know?
Yeah.
And you guys, like you said, you're from Joplin, Missouri. Yeah, so I guess lately it looks like you guys have done a lot of getting out there and getting some photos done together. What was that process like?
Yeah, that was pretty fun. It was cool because we hadn't really all four been together as a group, like physically, since probably early spring, because when we recorded, due to the whole pandemic and everything, we were doing all our parts separately, and, you know, just trying to be careful and safe, you know, all that good stuff. So yeah, it was pretty fun actually getting together and driving around Joplin, trying to get some pictures taken for just promo pictures for the label and the PR company that's going to be promoting the new record, you know. And they had requested some band pictures, and for whatever reason we've never really had band pictures taken much. We just, I don't know, we're not really, this is kind of a thing, we're not like huge on having our likeness out there, I guess. It's just something we've never paid a whole lot of attention to, but a lot of people request that, so it was like, well, we probably ought to get some actual band photos taken. And so when we decided to do it, we thought, let's make pictures that represent where we're from. And so we took some pictures at some of the more Joplin-esque landmarks and things like that. Some of the older buildings that have been around a long time that kind of, you know, people that live here, it's funny, when we post the pictures, a lot of people will comment like, you know, hey, I used to live in that apartment complex, blah, blah. And so it was pretty fun, like, talking with people about some of the old Joplin kind of landmarks and buildings, and everybody knew exactly what alleyway we were in and stuff. So, I mean, it was pretty cool to get that feedback as well. But, yeah, we just did it ourselves. I have a tripod, and we use my iPhone and set the timer to like 10 seconds so we can get into place. And, yeah, we just did it all ourselves, and they actually turned out really cool. So So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and getting together, like I said, physically, and getting to hang out for a few hours and drive around town, because, you know, we're supposed to be playing shows and stuff right now, and that's just not happening. So at least we were able to, you know, talk to each other and stuff. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was something about the pictures. I kind of wondered. It was definitely intrigued by them, because I was like, oh, I wonder if a really good friend took these pictures, because it kind of seems like that. It seems like, you know, and now that you're telling me you did them yourselves, that makes sense. Because
yeah.
Usually, because you guys like really did a lot of photos, and it did. I think that was the what was noticeable about it, is that you hadn't done a lot of pictures previously, and here you have like a lot of them in a lot of different areas, and it was great. It was really great to see all of them, and yeah, I think that when you do your own, you kind of know what you want, and you can achieve it. You know,
right.
So you guys definitely did that.
Thank you.
So in the one photo that you used, I think it is the backdrop for your Facebook page, possibly.
Yeah, those are all of our sponsors, endorsers, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's something that we definitely want to draw attention to, because they give us deals on our gear and stuff like that. So, and they promote us as well when time permits for them. You know, some of those companies are fairly, you know, popular companies, and so yeah, it's definitely something that, you know, it's actually part of our responsibility to be a part of that company, is to help promote. So and then they do the same for us. But yeah, that's definitely something that we wanted to draw attention to, was all the companies we work with for our. It's mainly music gear. There is a clothing company too called Maverick Apparel.
It was such a long list. I was like, wow,
yeah.
That's a lot of, because I knew you had a lot of endorsements, and there was a strong relationship. And when I saw it on the photo, I was like, that's a lot.
Right.
And I believe that Coffin Case is one of them, right?
Yes.
And I saw the picture. I was highly impressed by the picture of the Coffin Case. I think you posted that yesterday.
Yes.
It was. So, of course, now I just want to see what it looks like inside the case.
Right, yeah. Yeah, inside it's like a quilted, like velvet. You can get either black or red, and I've got one of each.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the black one is more for I got a Solar Guitars, which is another one of our endorsers. Solar Guitars out of Sweden. And I've got a V, I've got an Explorer shape, and I've also got like more of a standard like Strat style. But the V's and the Explorers, the ones that have the pointy parts and stuff, they require a lot more space. So that's the case I posed with, and that thing's huge. It takes a lot of space to house those particular guitars. But that one's black inside, and then my other one I've got a 7-string Solar, and it's more of a standard guitar shape, and it's quite a bit smaller, and it's got the red quilted, and padded inside. So yeah, it's pretty cool. They also have just your typical rectangles shape cases that it's like a flat black with glossy skulls on them. It's really cool. So
can't go wrong with glossy skulls.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like it was kind of like a no-brainer to go with them because of our name and everything. I mean, we always kind of like to. It's a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. I mean, it's fun, and we just like to have fun with what we're doing, and networking with these companies like that just makes it all the more worthwhile. And when they're supportive and have the same amount of excitement as you do, then it just makes it more enjoyable.
Definitely, I could see that.
Yeah.
So, with the new album coming out, how did you guys come up with the name for the new album, NecroEclosion?
That's a really good question. It's funny when you're in a band and you're trying to think of an album title. I don't know why. It's one of the hardest things to nail down, is naming things. I don't know why that is, but because the music it comes easy. and it's like second nature or something. But then you want to start naming stuff, and then you're like, oh, you just kind of second guess yourself a lot, and you're like, well, you don't want stuff to be perceived the wrong way, or that kind of thing. Or it's like, well, when I think of that title, it makes me think blah blah blah. And so anyway, we had 3 or 4 titles before NecroEclosion, and Mike, our bass player, was he was just kind of spitballing, and we're brainstorming in our group chat. Like, he goes, "What's the title of something that emerges from a cocoon, and that's the eclosion?" And he goes, "Well, what about something that rises from the dead? How can we maybe combine those?" And he just thought that kind of represented where we were as a band. It's like, kind of cheesy as that sounds, it really is kind of where we're at right now, because we didn't have a drummer or a singer for a little while, and so for us to come together, find 2 new guys, and write this album was pretty tough. So we're pretty proud of ourselves, honestly, because this album's pretty. It's probably not probably. I would say definitely the most favorite piece of music that I've ever been involved with, and I think everybody else feels the same. Like, we could have written several albums. Stuff was just coming that fast, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, NecroEclosion is basically something that is dead emerging from a cocoon or a chrysalis or a pupa or whatever you want to call it. And the artwork, which is done by our good friend Eric Sweet, who we've known since like the 80s. He did the Your Fault album cover as well, which was our last full-length album. And it's a painting, and we just took the picture of the painting, and of course it was like more of a rectangle shape, so we had to kind of double it up on the sides and everything to make it look a little more cohesive. But because we didn't want to really crop it, because we're just want to make sure the art really shines through, and everybody's seen it has really liked the art, so we're pretty happy about that. But that piece of art was just sitting outside of Mike's studio where we recorded everything, and we walked by it every day when we would record the record. And I don't know who it was. It may have even been our drummer Jay. He's like, "Why don't we just use that as the album cover?" I'm like, yeah. It was like it'd been right in front of our face this whole time, and so that that painting was just sitting there the whole time when we're recording, and so it was it was with us the whole time. So yeah, that's got several different meanings, I guess, but yeah, that's definitely what it means. I know that was another long-winded answer.
It was another great one.
Thank you.
The colors, and I can definitely see what you're saying about not wanting to take away from a second of it. You don't want to take away from that, and the colors are just amazing. And every time I look at it, I see something that I didn't see before.
Right. Yeah.
Like, my ultimate favorite thing right now that I'm seeing is the little eyeball.
Yes.
In the middle, and I'm just like, I didn't see that for like a while, so I was like,
right.
Wow. It's really cool.
Right, yeah, you zoom in on it and you start looking at some of the texture and things like that. There's just so much to it. Like, the actual painting is probably about 5 foot tall by about 4 foot wide. It's a big piece. It's huge. Yeah, it's huge. And we had to take it outside to take pictures of it. So yeah, it was pretty wild trying to get it captured. We went through probably a several week-long process trying to get just the right picture so we could put our logo and the title on it and all that. Go ahead.
No, sorry, that definitely brings me to my next question, is with the logo on it. Where did you come up with the logo originally? I just absolutely love that logo.
Thanks. We call that our pentagrave.
Nice.
Because if you see in the middle of it, it's a coffin.
Yep.
And which I know some, I tell people that, like, oh, I never noticed that, And so our bass player, Mike, he's the one that kind of stylized it. But funnily enough, the guy that actually sparked the idea for that logo was the guy that he masters all of our albums. His name's Gary Moore, and I've known him ever since like 5th grade. Like we're like good friends ever since like the 80s, and we were actually in several bands together. Our old drummer Larry, our bass player Mike, and myself, and then Gary were in a punk band in the 90s called Initial Detonation. And so we've been there and done that. We've toured and all that stuff. And so Gary he moved around and started going to like schools for music production. And he went to New Orleans and finally ended up in Nashville recording. This is going to sound crazy, but he's did stuff with Kenny Chesney, Bret Michaels, Kip Winger, and some other stuff. And just the stories he's told me of some of those people is just enough to write a book. So anyway, he worked in this Nashville studio for a while, and he really got his chops for recording and mastering and all that. And so he said, guys, if you ever need any work done, it's on the house kind of thing. And so he's mastered every album that we've done, except the first one. And I mean, he's just an old friend, and he texted me that drawing of the Pentagrave logo without the points on it, and we just thought, man, that's just too good, And then Mike's the one that added the more pentagram look to it, and then put the name around it on the outside like that. And so a lot of the stuff is stuff that either it's friends of ours or we just do ourselves, and that was kind of a collaboration on the logo.
That's great. Yeah, like I was thinking last night, I was like, is that like, what is that, a pentacoffin?
Right,
trying to come up with my own name for it.
Right, yeah.
So I know obviously right now the shows are iffy. They're even the ones that are starting right now. Some of the shows are actually starting, and then they're kind of drawing back a little. So
right.
With all of this back and forth going on with shows and uncertainty, like, do you have shows set up for the future?
We do for next year, yes. We don't have anything this year. We've finally, within the last month or so, we just said, okay, we've made the decision. All 4 of us have agreed that we're not going to play any public shows in 2020. Well, we played one in January, but other than that, we haven't played any, and it sucks because we had probably 10 or 12 booked, around February, March up until like June. And but yeah, next year we do have some shows. We've got one in Maryland at a festival there. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention what it's called or not, but we've got one in New Jersey. I'm trying to think where it's at. It's kind of by Hoboken. Can't remember the name of the town, but it's close to New Jersey, New York border. And then we've got, let's see, what else? We've got one in British Columbia, Canada, the festival. And then seems like there was one other. We've got a show in New Orleans booked, another festival. I believe that's the only 4 we've got booked at the moment. They're the festival shows, and we'll probably book some dates like around those shows, going to and from. So we'll probably go out 3 or 4 days around those festival dates, and they're going to be probably next summer, a lot of them, except the Maryland show. I believe it's going to be more in the fall. But yeah, we're definitely looking ahead to get some shows booked and probably promote this new record, because it's going to come out January 15th, I believe, is the official date right now. That could change, but we're going to promote the hell out of it, start playing some shows. And we don't tour like per se, but we do these, Mike calls them little ninja runs, where we'll go out for like these quick strikes, these 3 or 4 day runs. And we started doing that last year. They were really successful, and they weren't real stressful. We weren't away from our families for very long. And, our jobs were able to cope with us being gone for a day or 2 here or there. So yeah, that's been working real good for us, and I think we'll continue that next year.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, that kind of brings me to my next question is, promoting, you seem very comfortable with that. You put stuff out all the time. I love your solar videos. I love all of them. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's great. You're comfortable. You're at home. You seem very at ease. Has that something that's always been the case?
Absolutely not. I'm actually quite awkward and very I think without getting too personal, but I've always been kind of a socially awkward kid. I think a lot of artists and musicians and things are kind of that way. Actors, I think a lot of them are kind of that way, and they don't know how to express themselves in social situations, so they do it through another medium like a music or an art or a theater, that kind of thing. And so it allows you to express your voice or who you are through that, because it's like, I can't talk, but I can do this. So but here more recently, I think I've been a little bit more comfortable, and to be totally honest, part of that is because I'm on anti-anxiety medication, so that helps me come out of my shell a little bit. I started having panic attacks like 3 or 4 years ago. Like, it was not good, and I didn't know what the hell was going on, so I went to the doctor, and they got me diagnosed with generalized anxiety, and I was like, well, at least I know what it is, and I know where this stuff's coming from. And so, ever since then, I feel like I've been a little bit more on an even keel, and I'm not so freaked out all the time, and I can actually talk to people a little better. And I know some people have an issue with like big pharma, blah blah blah. I understand that, but at the same time, it's helped me a lot. And I didn't mean for this to go off into some mental health issue thing, but I think it's important for people to talk about it, because sometimes mental health gets a kind of a stigma attached to it, where you're supposed to swallow your feelings and not talk about them. But I've been trying to make more of a conscious effort to talk to people about it and stuff. So yeah, I hope that kind of sheds some light on it for you.
Absolutely, and I definitely think that you can have. I mean, I feel like there's medication out there for a reason, and
right.
There's some people that really there's people that need it. And you can have problems with, the way the industry is, and still have a respect and, a need for these things. I mean, I think it's not necessarily one-sided, and I think that it's great to talk about that. And I'm probably assuming here that you constantly putting yourself out there probably helps a lot.
Actually, it does. I'm glad you see that. It really does.
Yeah, it's an exercise, just like anything else.
It really is.
So I saw now, when did you just post the Tommy Stewart, what was he doing, the press test, I think it was called?
Oh yeah, the test press.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, what was in the listening to Castle Blakk Radio for a while before I came on board, because I wanted to kind of know, how it all worked and the structure, and I wanted to know all the DJs, and I felt like I really did get a chance to do that. I feel like I know everyone on a pretty good level.
Nice.
Yeah, that was the nice thing about it. So I would go to work and I would listen just to the autoplay, during the day, and for some reason you guys just kept popping up at the right time, and you guys kept grabbing my attention big time. So so this whole thing coming together for me is really great, because you guys were one of the bands that I didn't know a lot about that kind of just grabbed my attention just listening randomly to Castle Blakk Radio.
Cool.
And so I guess too, with Tommy speaking in that, and I hear your voice quite a bit because we use your IDs that you've done for the station.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, it sounds, I feel kind of silly now, but it's an accent. You guys have a little bit of an accent that I didn't realize, and I guess I noticed it when Tommy Stewart was doing his video today, and I'm wondering if that kind of has something to do with the great sound, that. I mean, because you guys all kind of sound like you have a similar accent, but it's not exact, obviously. But there's a richness to it, and I think that definitely comes out in the vocals.
Huh. That's really, really interesting. Tommy, he's the head of the record label. Like,
so he's not even singing. That's why.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like he's in like 3 or 4 bands, 5. I don't know. He's in a bunch, and we've played some shows with his band, Tommy Stewart's Direwolf. We played like 5 shows with him last year. We played in Chicago and Wisconsin. We played here in Joplin. We played Dallas, Houston. I mean, we played quite a few places in October and November. And he sings in that band. It's just him and a drummer. And I mean, I'm assuming you're speaking of our southern accent.
Yeah, and, see, I'm from the South, so I don't.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'm from Richmond, Virginia. So when I hear your accent, I think of it as a totally different. It's a very specific accent. Like I can hear it, and it's very nice, and I'm just feel like I can hear it in the music. I'm not sure about like and that was actually what I was trying to ask was in the background of his video. Is that one of the new songs?
Actually, that's "Kill for Sport." That's on the. It's on Your Fault.
I was gonna say it sounded so familiar that I felt like that can't be the new album, but I'm so excited to hear the new album that I just was like, maybe.
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening too. I was like, is he playing a new song? And I was like, oh, let's go for Sport. So that's on the Doomba Nomicon compilation that he put out a year ago or so. And it's a 2-record, 2 vinyl set. And that's on there. And that's kind of how we got first like connected, was through that. And I don't know if you know this about Tommy, but he was in a band called Hollow Z. And this would have been early 80s.
I definitely know the band. I didn't know that, though.
yeah, that's him. He played bass. And they were signed to Metal Blade Records. And they toured with Slayer and Motorhead. All kinds of... The stories from that guy's mouth about some of these bands was just insane. You know, he was telling me stories of going over the Canadian border with Slayer and all this stuff. And it was just unreal. But anyway, he's from Atlanta, Georgia, and so he's pretty. I mean, I'm from the South, and I can hear his accent. It's hilarious, you know, and it's pretty. He's got a drawl, and I know I do as well. But the Missouri accent is kind of bizarre. Like we're in the southwest corner, kind of more by Oklahoma and Kansas and Arkansas, so we have a little bit more of that kind of Ozark, they call it, accent. And but if you go north or east toward like St. Louis and Kansas City, then that accent's like completely different. Like St. Louis has almost a Chicago accent. It's really weird. Yeah, it's really weird. And so it's pretty funny, like accents. I always find that is intriguing too. But like as you were saying, relating to the music, I do agree with you on that a lot of the bands from more of the southern areas tend to have more of that, like you say, rich kind of, I don't know what it is. It's almost like a rawness to it.
Absolutely.
And there's more of this kind of like dirty kind of sound, it's not real as clean. Not saying the Yankee sound is clean, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's more of like a sludgy, dirty, swampy vibe or something. So maybe that is a southern thing. Maybe it's all the biscuits and gravy we eat. I don't know.
Yes. That's like one of my specialties, of course.
Yes. That's really cool. I didn't realize. I knew you lived in like what I saw that when you called it was Ithaca, New York.
Yeah, it's Ithaca. I've been here for a long time, probably about 20 years, but. My heart is definitely in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, wow. So we, that previous band I was telling you about, Initial Detonation, we played in Richmond. It was like in 98 or something.
Yeah, I was getting ready to leave at that point to come up here. Oh, wow. Yep.
We played at a place called Twisters,
I think. My gosh. Oh.
Yeah.
We don't have that road anymore.
Oh,
that whole road is gone. It belongs to Virginia Commonwealth University now.
Oh, wow.
Which is a great art school.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
But cool. I lost all of my teen years, like right in that construction that they did.
Wow.
So we had a row of clubs. I remember going to see Suicidal Tendencies. They played at Twisters when it was called Nancy Reagan. And
oh yeah.
And they had a ramp in there, like a skate ramp, and they were performing and skating at the same time. It was amazing.
That's so cool. Like we had a place here that was that kind of like that called the BTB skate park, and they had shows inside the skate park, and you just sit there and play in the middle of everybody skating, and it was fucking unreal. I'm sorry, I don't know if I cursed.
No, that's fine. It's the best, you know? When you can get all those activities in one room, and it's just great.
Yeah, it was really cool. We had another show we played in Initial Detonation while we were touring, and it was, I'm trying to remember where this was. It seemed like it was Ohio or... sometimes that stuff's a blur. But we played, like, in this big, like, pool bowl kind of thing, and that was insane. You know, it was unreal. People were just skating right up to you, man. I was like, I know I'm gonna get clocked in the head or something. You know, that's so cool. You know, and you're talking about suicidal tendencies. I mean, they're a huge influence on us.
Yeah, me too. And that was so long ago. Like I wasn't even. That show was really meant for my friends' older brothers and sisters. That was like, you know, I wasn't even really, not necessarily not welcome, but I was too young, you know, to really fit in at that point. I was just learning, you know, like what it's all about.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. So did that make an impression on you?
Yes. I mean, everything from downtown Richmond made a very strong impression on me. And you know, like I always felt like I was a few steps behind, and now I feel like, you know, sometimes now I'm the oldest in the crowd, but I was always the kind of the youngest in the crowd. Right,
yeah, that's like my wife. She's 5 years younger, and her dad he was a drummer, and he played in punk bands around here, and I actually knew her dad from playing in bands before I knew her, and then it was kind of crazy that we actually, you know, got married, but I'd see her at shows and stuff all the time, and she was, you know, younger than me. You know, back then it would have been really weird. But you know, when you're of adult age, it's not quite as bad. But yeah, I remember seeing her, and I was like, oh, there's that drummer's daughter. That's cool that she's here. You know, shaved head, and like, or a mohawk, and she'd have all different colored hair and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it was like back then that was kind of like how you knew you were with the right people, I guess.
Yes.
So
that's what I was saying. Like, even though, you know, that was the age difference at that point, when you kind of reconnected later on, it probably felt like home. I mean, it just felt right.
Yeah, it did. It's like, you know, you get to know each other and stuff, and you know, yeah. I mean, it's like you had so much in common, and you didn't even know it. It's quite bizarre, you know. It's like, you know, all the same people, you were at the same shows, and you didn't even know it probably 2/3 of the time. And she's like, I remember seeing you guys on how many times. I was in a band with that Gary guy that masters our records, and it was called Satan's Ice Cream Truck. And,
I did play some of that recently. Jay actually told me. I had no idea there was a connection, but I played because we do themes every once in a while. There were some really cool things on there that kind of, you know, stuck out at me. So
yeah, that was just us, and we had just moved out together in an apartment, and we had this cassette recorder, and that's what we recorded with, this cheap 4-track cassette recorder. And so all that stuff, we digitized it probably, you know, 5 or 10 years ago or something. And it's funny the life that thing kind of grew on, you know. The name actually comes from a Strapping Young Lad song. I don't know if you know who Devin Townsend is, but it's his old, like, I don't know what kind of music it was. It was like crazy, insane stuff. But it comes from a hit track on one of his records, and we actually met him after a show and asked him if we could use that as a band name, and he was like, yeah, man, that's amazing. And he was so nice about it. So yeah, that's kind of how that all came about. But
that's really cool.
yeah, it was pretty wild. We gave him a Satan's Ice Cream Truck shirt.
Well, you have to. You have to at that point.
Right, yeah, and he gave us Strapping Young Lad Lad shirts, and it was really cool.
That's awesome, Strapping Young Lad. Wow, I didn't.
Right.
I don't know anyone in the band, but I definitely have heard of Strapping Young Lad. So
yeah.
So let's see. So you guys, you and your wife have been together for a while, right? You guys have 4 kids.
Oh yeah, I got 4 kids, all boys. I got a senior in high school right now. One that's 8th grade, and then I got twins. They're getting ready to go into 4th grade. So yeah, and of course school right now is it's unreal. It's so weird. Our senior wants to attend school, physically, so we're going to allow him to do that. He'll be smart enough to mask up and have some common sense about it. The other 3 we're going to keep at home. Not homeschool them, because that's kind of a different curriculum, but we're using the Joplin School's curriculum. We're going to try it and see what happens, and try to slow down this thing. I actually work at a university here in town called Missouri Southern State, and there's already like 7 or 8 students that have COVID, and the guy that works across the hall from me might have it, and it's like, oh my god, it's just crazy. It's just like, man. And Joplin repealed the mask mandate, so it's like nobody gives a shit. It's just strange times right now.
Yeah, we're kind of dealing with that. We have Cornell up the road from us, and some of them are coming back, but Ithaca College, they've decided not to come back at all. So. Oh wow, really? Yes, it's been interesting.
Yeah, we were wondering if they were going to have the students come back this year, because I've been working there about 7 or 8 years, and there's not a ton of kids there. There's probably about 5,000 or 6,000, but 5,000 or 6,000 people in one little spot. You gotta be careful, but yeah, it's just weird. Like, everything was great until the city decided to repeal the mask mandate, and now it's just like a free-for-all, so it's been kind of bizarre.
That is bizarre. I didn't even know that was going on, so I'm definitely glad you brought that up.
Right, yeah. Okay, I don't know. I just think a lot of things can be solved if people just had some more common sense and not think about themselves so much.
So with everything going on, you've got like a pre-release coming out soon, and then you have the actual release date. Now for the pre-release, is that the actual album or just for the vinyl?
The pre-sale will be for the vinyl, and that's going to happen all exclusively at the blackdoombarecords.com website. And that's going to be, I think it's going to start October 18th, if I remember right. And what that's going to be is, I think the first 300 will be hand numbered. I believe it's a 3-color vinyl and 180 gram weight. And there's going to be like some, I guess, swag with it. Like, I know we're going to do like a poster. We've got like, we had an artist do like his interpretation of one of the song title, not song title, but subjects, and so that turned out just fucking amazing. It's it's intense. So my job at my work is I'm a printer and I deliver mail, and so I'm going to print all of the posters and stuff, and that'll help save some money and everything. But being as that's my job, I can get it done for cheap, and I can make sure that the quality is where it needs to be, and all that stuff. So that's kind of cool. Like, for instance, our last EP that we put out, Demon Face Stalingrad's Cross, we did the covers ourselves and printed them where I work and folded them up and sent them to No Slip Records, our previous label. And everybody's like, wow, this is really cool. This paper is really cool. And I'm like, yeah, it's my job, man. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. Like, I can actually be a part of the process. So that's been a lot of fun. But as far as, like you say, the pre-sale, it'll be, I'm trying to think what else is involved in that. I believe Black Doomba may have, like, a patch, and I believe there may be a sticker involved, or we're not 100% sure on, like, the extras. But I know Tommy will be hand numbering all of those, and then you'll get a download of one of the songs, maybe 2. And then, of course, once the album's released, you get the rest of the album to download. And like I said, those will all start shipping out in January. And the test pressings, as far as that goes, I think we're going to get those the next week, and then we'll listen to it as a band. That'll be exciting. I think we're going to try to do like a small like video snippet or something of one of the new songs of us listening to it, geeking out on it. So that'll be pretty cool. Yeah, that would be really cool. You know, looking forward to that.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, I was going to ask. I mean, I think you kind of went over this a little bit when you were talking about how like everything's kind of shut down, so it's kind of amped up your promoting. You know, the ability to promote. And with COVID, do you think that sped up the album release, or like the getting the album done part, or do you think it slowed it down a little?
It's kind of that's an interesting question, because when the COVID thing started, we were already writing and recording, so it happened like our timeline was already basically that this is what we were going to be doing regardless. But I think it probably sped up the recording process for sure, because we were able to concentrate on that and not have to worry about working it around shows and stuff like that, because we had shows booked in April, May, and June, and so we would have had to, you know, worry about whether or not we would be available to record or available to help mix, or, you know, whatever the case may be regarding, you know, working around shows and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of weird to even think about, 'cause it's like hindsight, but as far as like the promoting and stuff, I think it may have slowed that down a little bit, honestly. And I think part of the reason is that we actually have time to let it kind of promote itself in a way. And also PR companies are kind of slammed right now, so we've kind of had to wait in line, so to speak, to get our record in and get the WAR PRs, the one that we're working with, and to basically get them to where they can concentrate their full attention on our release, but we have to wait on the other releases that they were working on prior. And so you know, they've got a lot of clients they're working with, so because everybody's, you know, writing and recording records right now, so yeah, it's definitely slowed down the promo part, I think. But the recording and all that, I think it speeded that up. So I guess it's probably a wash. Right. It probably would have just happened around the same time. That's what I'm guessing.
You're probably right. Yeah. There's definitely some things that have been like, oh wow, this really worked out. You know, we've had some downtime a little. Some people never got the downtime, so it was kind of the same, you know, for them. But with you know, with a lot of bands getting really creative, and some are kind of just starting out, like with this, you know, situation going on, and they're trying to promote themselves. What do you recommend for people, since, you know, you've kind of had an experience of doing this in all different levels, you know, and from a long time period. So what do you think works when you're trying to develop a fan base in your new band?
I think probably starting out would be just being like interactive with people. I know you see some bands and, you know, artists or whoever, they don't really talk to their, I hate to say fans, but you know what I mean, like the people that are into what their art, what they do. Fans kind of sounds like, I don't want to make it sound like we're above anybody, but you know the people that you want to, you know, talk to and network with and all that. I think that's another part, is just networking. Is you never know who can, you know, help you, or who you can work with to help further your art, your craft, whatever it is you do. And if you interact with them, then you'll find that out. I mean, we've made so many connections just talking with people about the band and stuff like that. Going into chat rooms for radio stations and stuff like that. I know sometimes it's, you know, it's really hard to make time for for stuff. Everybody's got, lives to live, of course. But I think if you set aside time to really talk with people and let them know that, they matter to you and what you're doing, then I think that goes a long way. I mean, I hear people talk about that all the time. Hey, I was just talking to so-and-so from this band, and, they're a pretty popular band sometimes. It's like, that means something to them, that the acknowledgement that somebody's into your music and that they do care that you're into it. So I think that's kind of one of the first steps, is just acknowledging that people matter. And then, obviously try to post something at least once a day, even if you're just sharing like a radio station or whatever, said, hey, we're going to play your band today on our show. I mean, we do that as much as possible.
Definitely.
It's like, my phone is practically up my ass, I mean, it's like, it's always there. And it's like, well, you check your notifications. So-and-so tagged Gravehuffer in a post. I go look at it. I share that post. I thank them. I think just a little bit of gratitude goes a long way. And then people appreciate the give and take of that relationship, I guess.
I definitely appreciate it. You guys are amazing.
Right. We appreciate you supporting us. And I just think one hand washes the other. That's kind of that's one of our mottos basically in this band, is we're always trying to be as supportive as we can when we can to people that are supporting us. And I think that's pretty much where it starts, and then things just build from there. And just try to be as active as possible. You can go a little overboard with it and kind of get spammy. Sometimes I'll get unsolicited messages and stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know who this is. And you sometimes you check them out or whatever, and then it's like, oh, that's really cool. Well, hey, here's what I'm involved in, and then it's crickets. It's got to be a two-sided conversation.
Yeah.
And I think some people kind of, it's like they just think, oh, we'll just put all this out there, blast it out there, and then sit back. That's not how it works. I mean, obviously, if you're good, you're gonna get some attention, but then people aren't stupid. They're gonna know the.
So I noticed this week that you put a post out that you have a split coming out with "Shut Up and Skate" on it.
"Shut Up and Skate" and "Your Fault," and that was that's a weird deal. Like when we did "Your Fault," we didn't have a title track. When the label that put that out was like, hey, how about we put it out on vinyl and put a couple of vinyl exclusive bonus tracks. And so that's where that came from. But anyway, we thought it'd be cool to put that on there because you can only get it on the vinyl. We're like, well, let's just put it on this split with No Slip, and it's with Souls of Hades. They're from Australia, and this is the last thing we're doing with No Slip. We thought it'd be cool to do that. Mike had that art. That's our bass player's painting, the skateboard thing.
Okay.
And and so we did that, and but yeah, Your Fault's got Carlo Regatas plays his solo on it. He used to be in Carcass, and so we thought that'd be cool to kind of have that on there. But yeah, Shut Up and Skate. That's kind of if we ever had a hit, it'd probably be that one. Everybody fucking loves that song, so
it's a good one. And the title, of course, obviously is going to stand out to so many people. Either people that have been enthusiasts of skateboarding, or they've done it themselves. So can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's an old Zorlak thing. So yeah, I'm not people that hear it they get it.
And is that something that's going to be coming out soon, or is it already out?
It's going to be coming out in October at the pressing plant now, and but yeah, it'll be sometime in October because No Slip messaged me the other day asking when NecroEclosion was coming out. I said it won't be till January. He goes, oh, cool. Well, then they won't come out at the same time.
Anything else?
I just want to thank you for having me today, and I really thought that this was definitely a unique interview. It was cool. We just had a conversation. It wasn't necessarily what's the history of your band? I've done a lot of those, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I felt like this was a very natural conversation, and to me, that's one of the more interesting things to do is just have a conversation versus an interview. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for always playing us on your show, and Castle Blakk Radio for always welcoming us. We've been friends with all the Castle Blakk DJs for years now, so it's been really cool to have this relationship with you all. And check us out and check out Castle Blakk Radio, y'all.
Thank you. I definitely can relate to that because I feel like they were very welcoming to me, and they didn't have to be. So I definitely can feel what you're saying on that.
Sweet.